Yes, Sir Hairless here. Today we have the winner of our last Dimash poll of which reaction to do next. This is Samaltau, the Tokyo Jazz Festival 2020 version. The title roughly translates to Breezy Mountain. Here are the lyrics on the screen. Please do pause and have a read of them. It's about a soldier in his mid-20s who's forced to march for over 2 weeks to fight in the First World War. There's more to it than that, so here on the screen is a summary in greater detail. Again, please do have a pause if you want to read. So it's definitely an emotional backstory that the song is portraying, and if there's anyone to showcase that emotionally, it would probably be Dimash. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. I mean, that's 1 minute and 36 seconds into the video. Pure instrumentals. There's not really been anything too musical in terms of harmony, that kind of thing. But wow, talk about an impactful introduction. I don't know if I enjoyed it or not from a musical enjoyment perspective, but that was making my body shudder. Let's just quickly go back. So we have the korbis here, the stringed instrument. We've seen it before quite a few times. And we also have the kind of flute instrument, the sebezge, that again, we've seen a couple of times in other videos. Amazing the wind effect it can create, isn't it? And considering the name of the song, Samaltau, Breezy Mountain, really like the winds blowing through all the desolate landscapes this soldier would have been walking through when they were forced to go to battle. And the sound we get after that. If you close your eyes, that almost sounds like a siren of sorts, and it makes me wonder the modern siren sound, what the inspiration might have been. Could it have been an old instrument such as this? And these chromatic inflections, but sliding between the notes, every single frequency being hit. Really, there's something quite terrifying about it. Horrifying or harrowing. These are the words that were coming to mind when I was first hearing it. It almost sounds like an animal screaming, doesn't it, in pain? I'm thinking of goats. I don't think goats make that sound. Maybe an ox or some type of bull, maybe? I don't know, but this is what's going on in my head right now. And then, of course, like I say, we have the sebezge just really enhancing this soundscape. We have much more of the windy type sounds, which makes sense. It's a wind instrument after all. Oh. Or like wolves howling in the distance. Really, really cool. And then just after 1 minute in comes the first harmony. A nice bare open fifth. Or a fourth rather. If this bottom note was on the top, then that's an open fifth, which is basically a chord without the third note. And the third note determines if it's major or minor. Without it, It's an older sound, very archaic sounding. That's always the word I use to describe this. And just where I paused, the Sebezge player was reaching for this. It looks like a stick. Is it an instrument? Oh, there was the music coming in. Sorry, that stick thing he's turning, is that those sounds? It sounds like pebbles falling down or little bits of wood or something. Dimash is locked in. Cross-legged as well, very interesting to see.
Солдат болып айнам көрген күнім ай есіме қайта қайта түсе берді кір жуып күндік кезген айнам қайран елім Атты-беспін жаяуан, жаяудан да таяуман 15 күнде жүрген соң, омпы жаққа таяуман.
Yeah. Really interesting one. Really interesting. So different to anything I listen to day to day. And before I discovered Dimash, so different to anything I'd ever heard realistically. Maybe the occasional folk performance if on holiday somewhere in the eastern lands of Eastern Europe or a bit more east. But yeah, you can just really get that Eastern musical style coming through. I'll just go back over a few things I found interesting. So if you don't want to hear my thoughts, go to the timestamp. There, I would say that's as close to percussion coming in, that just as the music then comes in. But the stick instrument, I'm going to call it the stick instrument. Please let me know down below the name of that one. I guess that is a percussion instrument. I imagine it's these little things inside it that are falling. Could be completely wrong, but that's how I'm imagining it right now. But aside from that, the focus is very much on the instrumental side of things, or rather the instruments that have pitches to their playing. There's a stringed instrument with the bum, 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 bum. And the constant strings, instrument that we might be more familiar with as Western listeners. Descending motifs all the way through. And then Dimash enters with the same two notes that I already have up. But as I first showed them, he starts here and then goes up to here. So that really is the harmonic core of everything. It's the first time he sings, the first harmony we get in the song. The third note still missing, well, in a way, because this points towards an F sharp chord. But when Dimash starts singing, we have a different chord in the background. The harmony, in other words, is changed, and it's thanks to that low note in the bass. I thought I'd try it down the octave a bit low, which is down here. I'll play it up here so we can see it. And now you can see it's created a D major 7 chord, which is basically a D chord with the 7th note added in. And this is why harmony is so interesting. All it takes is changing one note to completely transform the feel. Before we had this, and this is the note Dimash came in on. Just move it up one to here, and it's a completely different chord, a completely different feel. But all of the notes are basically the same. And it's one of these songs where the harmony is constantly moving. I always feel a bit silly sitting here talking about harmony when it comes to these very Eastern songs, because it's just a different type of music. The music's so old and it's not constructed in the same way as Western music might be, with the same theories and scales and modes, like for example Bach or Mozart or Beethoven. It's just completely different, like different languages. And I like that because it's much more difficult for me as a listener who understands theory, and theory usually helps us to almost predict what chord might come next. One chord prepares for another, that kind of thing. With this type of music, I have no idea what's coming, and I love it. It's constantly moving. Just pick one of the instruments out. The bass instrument low down there is probably the easiest to hear. Here it goes. Dum, dum, dum. Now moving up. Now down. Down again. This lovely drop underneath. As for Dimash's singing, real power, a lot of vibrato. Voice breaks. He's not really using that much air in his voice at all. I thought maybe he might have been when I was looking at the lyrics before we started this. And the only reason I say that is because usually the airy voice represents emotional strain or perhaps mental weakness, you know, vulnerability. And based on the story here, I would say overall things are quite vulnerable. But having this powerful way of singing, and there is just an overall power in the sound, is almost like hope. Or if not hope, then belief, a patriotic belief almost. I'll stick with hope though. The lyrics at this point, I wonder what my days will be like when I become a soldier. For so many millions and millions of these soldiers, their days were very numbered. They would die fighting for their countries as a soldier, being killed by other soldiers, fighting wars on behalf of men in power that they'd never meet. It's really sad to think about, isn't it? Well, before I get too emotional, yeah, very interesting song, very interesting music. Let's carry on. Oh, and I forgot to say, so we're doing this version because in the poll, which Samaltau won, this is the version that I think most people wanted to see based on the comments. There were also a lot of comments recommending the digital concert version, which is from 2021. There was one comment I thought was quite cool. It said that digital concert performance is if you're after the storm, if you're chasing the storm. This version we're listening to now is if you're chasing the music. Well, I'm kind of chasing both. So after this, we'll also listen to the other version. And you can find that full video if you want to watch that at the link in the description below. Sorry, I just have to say, the two instruments we have, the khobis and the sebezge, one is a string instrument, the other is a wind instrument. And I was listening to that, kind of zoning out into the music, thinking they sound so similar to each other. There. That was the khobis, the stringed instrument, and then in comes the wind instrument. Remarkable. So cool. And for how simple they look, at least, remarkable versatility. The sounds that we're hearing produced by them is, yeah, mental. Ooh, that's a little bit of a change. That's interesting because just here, just a few seconds ago, extremely sad lyrics, the mourning and heartache of the year 1916, World War I. And then the music creeps in. The chord that I was showing before, the core chord of this piece, and overall things have been very minor in sentiment. Well, that note is here, turning it into a major chord. Immediately that stuck out to me and I was thinking, oh, it's like a tierce de Picardy. A tierce de Picardy is where you finish an overall minor or sad piece of music or song in the major. And well, it almost sounds like a new song has just happened here with that change in style. If you enjoy these videos or find them helpful, please consider supporting me. Patreon has a bunch of exclusive benefits, behind the scenes videos, additional reaction content, Q&A videos and more. For a one-time donation, you can donate me a hot chocolate at the Buy Me a Coffee link or become a YouTube member for these groovy emojis and membership badges. And a huge thank you to these lovely people on the screen now. There are just a few things I'd like to go over from the last minute or so we've heard before we'll then carry on with that different bit until the end. Samaltau, before he sings it again, it's the same two notes. And then he moves up. That top A, you know, that's well at the top of a tenor's range. So we've not had airy Dimash, one of my favorite types of Dimash's singing, but we've also not heard his head voice or really even his blended voice. Again, this I think just is because of the power underlying everything here, that powerful chest voice. As we know, every decision Dimash makes when he sings is, I'm sure, very, very calculated. It's probably quite rare, actually, to have a song where he sings in one voice type for the whole song. The next phrase is sort of the most in the opposite end of the spectrum that we get. A bit airy, but there's definitely still mostly the chest voice in there. This bit was interesting as well with his melody, repeating the same note. And the of the wind instrument is almost acting as the percussion, the drums here, just an element of some immediate energy, whilst the rest of the music is overall quite calm and constant. And we do also have Dimash's melody doubled up by a couple of instruments. And doubling something up naturally is giving it more strength. Right, let's carry on from that changed section until the end. There's about 1 minute left. That was a really interesting one. I did not know what to expect. I was expecting something emotional. It seems like quite a popular one as well. I have received many, many requests for Samaltau ever since my first Dimash reaction about 1.5 years ago. But yeah, that just was not what I was expecting. And I think I spoke a bit too soon. I don't know why. That was silly of me, saying how he's only really been singing in one type of voice. I thought he maybe would have then gone up as he so often does in his performances, at least from what I've seen. But no, he stayed in that blended voice. But again, why is he using blended voice instead of head voice on this note here, which is one note above this one, which is the wow operatic tenor moment? Well, he's using blended voice because one, he can, and two, it's more of a powerful sound. Very cool last section. Suddenly, the rhythmic energy we get just from a simple change to a lyricless melodic passage. There, it's constant, it's relentless, it's not moving. We do, of course, have the percussion now coming in underneath for a bit more of a war-like feel, a tribal feel, maybe. And the notes Dimash uses here, this all comes down to the scales, if we're thinking in the Western world, or the modes, maybe, which, like I said before, are not the same as we're used to in Western music. So that's why maybe it sounds a little bit peculiar, but it sounds very Eastern. I think we can all agree. And the bass line underneath that, dum, 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 moving down chromatically, step by step. I love that bit. That might be my favorite bit of the whole song. Suddenly opening up, we have some kind of choir in the background. I'm really imagining a group of people going to battle, but not gun warfare. You know, I'm imagining people on horseback with swords out, really ready to die for their people, for their family, for their nation, which is a sad thing to think about, especially with the final lines. My dearest motherland with its immense lake. It's almost like a soon-to-be memory once you're no longer alive. And the backing instrumentation, oh, it's lovely. There we go, Samaltau, Tokyo Jazz Festival 2020. Yeah, I can see why this appears to be a fan favorite. A lot to like about that performance. Now, I will be chasing the storm. Let's go and watch the digital performance from the following year. Once again, if you'd like to watch that one as well, you can find that in the link in the description. And if not, well, thank you as always for watching. Would appreciate a like and a subscribe. Comment down below other performances you'd like me to do by Dimash. Really helps the YouTube algorithm, and I will see you next time.